Sergio Perez has guaranteed his seat for the 2024 season, but it seems like the rumours don't end there, as Christian Horner has opened up about the future of the Mexican driver with Red Bull. Amid all of the talks that he could be potentially replaced by Daniel Ricciardo in the middle of 2024 if the Mexican driver doesn't deliver the results that are expected of him, Horner's statement did reveal a lot when it comes to the future of the Red Bull's driver lineup. After Verstappen's fears of 2024 not being nearly as dominant as 2023 and Red Bull needing two very strong drivers in order to keep the dominance going their way, could this be the separation point between Perez and Red Bull? And if so, is Ricciardo the right choice to replace him? It goes without saying that Perez has been one of the hottest topics throughout the 2023 season, but for all the wrong reasons. And all of that kept drivers like Daniel Ricciardo up in the mix for the Red Bull seat as early as the beginning of the 2024 season. But with Perez locking up the second seat in the Drivers' Championship and therefore earning the seat in Red Bull for the upcoming season, many thought that the drama would end there and everybody could focus on what's coming. And that, of course, is the 2024 season. But it was far from that, as Christian Horner has opened up on Red Bull's requirements of Sergio Perez for the next season. And if we're to believe him or Max Verstappen, then the Mexican driver would really have to step up the game in order to keep his seat alive. There have been all kinds of talks about Perez's contract having an addition that says if he's not able to perform on a certain level, that the team would require him to, which we could easily suggest is to constantly be P2, then he could be replaced by another driver from Red Bull's academy or from AlphaTauri. Elaborating on 2024's season expectations, Verstappen went on to say, realistically, it can't be much better than what we achieved, but I think it's not always about trying to win 20 races. It's also about just trying to find improvements within yourself and within the car. If that means we've improved the car and can fight for the championship again, but only with 10 races, that is fine. The competition around us has been quite up and down. One weekend it's this team and the other week it's another team. Next year people are learning a lot with this new regulation, so naturally everyone will be quite a bit closer. This is something that Christian Horner shared as well, and with all the progress that has been made in teams like McLaren and Aston Martin, along with the promises that the Mercedes W15 has been initially showing, Red Bull are safe to bet that they cannot let one driver decide the future of the team when it comes to the Constructors' Championship. Perez has been, indeed, a liability for the majority of the 2023 season, and there have been quite a few alarm bells, such as the one in Miami and the one in Qatar, where Perez felt like he needed to perform better in order to keep his seat alive in the foreseeable future. But even though Horner is still adamant that there's nothing that Perez should be worried about in 2024, he's still specified how important it is for the team to actually have a proper group of drivers that would deliver killer results in such a dominant era, where the majority of the F1 sport believes that if Red Bull could run with the RB19 all over again, they will win the 2024 championship as well. Even in such times where the team left only one win on the table for the rest of the grid, and that's Singapore, Perez struggled to keep the second seat alive and kept sparking rumours about his seat in Red Bull. Elaborating on what the Mexican driver needs to do in order to keep the spot in Red Bull in 2024, Horner went on to say his race pace is there, his race craft is fantastic, he's probably overtaken more cars than anybody this year, but we just need him to be starting in the first 4 rather than 9th or 10th, whatever his average has been over the last few races. He has still finished second in this World Championship and won some great races, put in some great drives, but I think he knows where his areas to improve are. I think there will be a little bit of a reset in terms of how he goes about his racing next year as well. He knows it's a big year for him and he'll take a bit of time this winter to reflect on where he needs to improve, and I'm sure he'll come back fighting next year. Overtaking a lot of cars is not what you want to be bragging about when you're driving the RB19, because it means that with the most dominant outlet on the track, you are effectively letting slower drivers than you be in front on Saturday, and then you present yourself with the challenge to overtake them and call that a win situation. But there's nothing much we can do about this, and with the 2024 season poised to be a lot closer in competition, it's safe to assume that Perez will be under a lot of scrutiny if he doesn't manage to match up the pace of some prolific drivers such as Norris, Hamilton, Russell, or both Ferraris. In case he doesn't, rest assured that Red Bull won't miss a heartbeat and will give the seat to a driver who's drooling all over for the Austrian team's chance to compete alongside his old buddy Verstappen. Daniel Ricciardo has recently opened up about the future of his career and admitted that it would be a dream come true for him to race for Red Bull in the foreseeable future. And although the most likely chance he'll have would be in 2025, statements like this always leave the door open for a sooner move. Talking about this, Ricciardo didn't shy away from his priorities as he added, "I think coming back into it and jumping back into the Red Bull family, doing tests in July, getting back working with Simon again, that's really the dream. Honestly, to end my career as a Red Bull driver would be perfect." And I say end, not that I'm looking at the end, but if I got back there, then I'll certainly make sure I finish there. Ricciardo did manage to impress everyone in Red Bull with the Silverstone tyre test, as rumours were that his lap times were just 1 or 2 tenths off Verstappen's. Of course, there are a lot of factors that you need to take into consideration, such as the setup of the car, the fuel load and the track conditions, but the fact that Ricciardo did more than enough to impress Red Bull to put him in a position he originally denied speaks volumes about where the team stands with him in terms of future collaboration. After all, it would be a safe bet to assume that he won't attack Verstappen's championships, something that Perez threatened to do all over again in 2024, and something in which he will very likely fail, considering that he had a tremendous fall-off season in 2023. So the only question that remains to be answered is, will Ricciardo be ready for the challenge once it rises up? According to Martin Brundle, there's still a lot of work that the Honey Badger needs to do in order to receive the seat in Red Bull, adding, "I think he's got more work to do before he shows he's ready to go up against Max Verstappen again." Even Horner has reflected on the suspicions of other teams catching up to Red Bull in 2024, adding more pressure on Perez to perform on a level that would be suiting for a Red Bull driver, although that's yet to be confirmed by a driver of Ricciardo's profile. It's not something we should be throwing away in the dust before we even test it out, as the motivation that Ricciardo is feeling right now is undoubtedly much higher than the one of Perez. Speaking about this, Horner stressed, "You're always learning in this business. With stable regulations, we know that the field will converge. We've seen that at different points during the course of the past year. We have to improve. We have to keep evolving. All aspects of our RB19 are being looked at to evolve into RB20 and hopefully make it even stronger. I'm sure that's what our competitors will be looking to do." With this in mind, do you think that Ricciardo is the right solution for the ongoing problem in Red Bull? And if so, do you think that he would get a chance to replace Perez as early as the middle of the 2024 season? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.